The sun sets, and the world goes dark. Not the familiar darkness of a power outage, where streetlights flicker back on and refrigerators hum to life. Real darkness. Complete darkness. The kind that swallows cities whole and turns the night into an impenetrable wall of black. Because in this world, electricity was never discovered. The spark that built modern civilization never ignited, and humanity learned to live in perpetual twilight. This is the story of a world that stopped in the shadows. A timeline where Alessandro Volta never built his battery, where Michael Faraday never demonstrated electromagnetic induction, where Thomas Edison never illuminated a street. The fundamental force that powers everything you're using right now, your phone, your computer, the lights above your head, simply remained hidden. A secret the universe kept, and humanity had to find another way forward. But here's what makes this different from just going back in time. This isn't about returning to the 1700s. This is about a completely alternate evolution of human civilization. Because when you remove electricity, you don't just remove light bulbs and computers. You remove the entire foundation of modern progress. You alter the trajectory of human development so fundamentally that the world becomes unrecognizable. And the question isn't just what we lose, it's what we become instead. Let's start with the obvious, the night. In our world, we conquered darkness. We turned night into day with the flip of a switch. Cities became oceans of light, visible from space. But without electricity, night remains what it always was. A predator. A force of nature that humans must respect and fear. When the sun goes down, civilization goes to sleep. Not by choice, by necessity. Because the alternatives, oil lamps, candles, gas lighting, are expensive, dangerous, and limited. A wealthy merchant might afford enough lamp oil to read by candlelight for a few hours. A factory might use gas lamps to extend the workday until the cost becomes prohibitive. But for most of humanity, darkness means stillness. Work stops, travel stops, life stops, and the world operates on solar time, governed by the rising and setting of the sun. This changes everything about how society functions. Cities can't grow beyond a certain size because coordinating millions of people in darkness is impossible. London, in our timeline, became a metropolis of gas lamps and eventually electric lights. But in this world, it remains a collection of smaller communities, each one closing its doors at dusk. Crime becomes almost impossible to prevent after dark. Law enforcement is limited to daylight hours, and the concept of a night shift, of round-the-clock productivity, never exists. The global economy operates at half speed, because half of every day is simply unusable. But the real horror isn't the darkness. It's what happens to medicine. Because electricity isn't just about light. It's about refrigeration. And without refrigeration, medicine breaks down. Literally. Vaccines, which need to be kept cold to remain effective, can't be mass-produced or distributed. Insulin, which must be refrigerated, can't be stored. Blood banks can't exist. Organ transplants are impossible. The entire infrastructure of modern healthcare, which relies on the ability to preserve biological materials, collapses before it even begins. And humanity remains vulnerable to diseases that we conquered decades ago. Polio, smallpox, tuberculosis. Without the ability to produce and distribute vaccines at scale, these killers continue their harvest. The global population, which in our timeline exploded to 8 billion, stabilizes somewhere around 4 billion. Not because of war or famine, but because medicine never escapes the limitations of the natural world. Communication suffers an even stranger fate. In our world, electricity gave us the telegraph, the telephone, radio, television, the internet. Instant communication across any distance. But without electricity, communication moves at the speed of horses and ships. A message from New York to London takes weeks. News of a major event might not reach the other side of the world for months, and the concept of a globalized culture never develops. There's no way for ideas to spread quickly, no way for trends to become worldwide phenomena. Every region develops its own isolated culture, its own way of thinking, because there's no mechanism for rapid cultural exchange. The world becomes a mosaic of distinct civilizations, each one evolving independently. unaware of what's happening beyond their borders. But humanity doesn't just give up. We never do. Instead, we become masters of what we can control. And in a world without electrical technology, we turn inward, to biology, to chemistry, to mechanics. Because electricity isn't the only path to progress, it's just the one we took. And without it, we take a different road. Mechanical engineering becomes the dominant science. Without electric motors, we perfect steam engines, clockwork mechanisms, hydraulic systems. Cities run on compressed air and steam pressure. Factories operate using water wheels and massive gear systems. The technology looks steampunk, because it is. Brass and copper and intricate moving parts. Everything is mechanical. Everything is visible. Everything requires human understanding of physical systems rather than invisible electronic circuits. And in some ways, this creates a deeper connection between humans and their technology. You can see how a machine works. You can understand it. There's no mysterious black box running on invisible electrons. Chemistry explodes as the primary field of innovation. Without electric power, we rely on chemical reactions for energy. Batteries exist, but they're primitive. Acid and metal, dangerous and inefficient. But chemical synthesis, pharmaceuticals, materials science, all of these advance rapidly because they don't require electricity. We develop better medicines, stronger materials, more efficient fuels. The periodic table is fully mapped. Chemical processes that in our world require electrical equipment are adapted to use heat and pressure instead. And humanity becomes extraordinarily skilled at manipulating matter at the molecular level, even without the electron microscopes and spectrometers that we take for granted. Biology becomes our technology. Without electronics, we learn to engineer life itself. Selective breeding reaches levels of sophistication that seem like magic. Dogs aren't just pets, they're specialized tools, bred for specific tasks with the precision we usually reserve for machines. Some breeds glow in the dark through bioluminescence, serving as living lanterns. Others are bred for enhanced hearing, serving as biological alarm systems. Plants are engineered to produce specific chemicals, to grow in specific shapes, to serve as natural water filters or air purifiers. The line between nature and technology blurs because nature becomes our technology. And the ethical questions this raises, the morality of engineering living things, dominates philosophy and religion in ways that our world never experienced. Cities look different, smell different, feel different. Without electric lighting, architecture evolves to maximize natural light. Buildings are designed with massive windows, reflective surfaces, light wells that channel sunlight into the deepest rooms. Rooftops are covered in mirrors and polished metal, bouncing light into the streets below. Everything is built to capture and redirect the sun. And at night, cities glow with bioluminescent plants, with carefully managed fires in public spaces, with the soft amber light of oil lamps in wealthy districts. It's beautiful, in a way our world isn't. More organic, more connected to natural rhythms, but it's also limiting, confining. Humanity remains a diurnal species, active during the day, dormant at night. Transportation never experiences its electrical revolution. There are no electric cars, no electric trains, no airplanes with electronic navigation systems. Instead, we perfect steam locomotives, develop more efficient internal combustion engines running on refined fuels, and create vast networks of mechanical infrastructure. But long-distance travel remains slow and expensive. A journey that takes hours in our world takes days or weeks, and most people never travel more than 100 miles from where they were born. The world is simultaneously larger and smaller. Larger because it takes so long to cross. Smaller because each community is more isolated, more self-contained. But here's the thing that changes human consciousness more than anything else. Without electricity, we never develop electronic media. No television, no radio, no internet, no smartphones. The entire concept of instant electronic communication never exists. And that means something profound. It means human attention never fragments. There's no constant stream of information, no notifications, no social media, no algorithmic feeds competing for your consciousness. People live in the physical world, with the people around them, engaged in the moment, because there's no digital escape. Books remain the primary form of entertainment and education. Newspapers are read cover to cover. Conversations happen face to face, and human cognition develops differently. Without the constant context switching of modern technology, people's attention spans remain long, deep, focused. They think in narratives, not sound bites. And the quality of human discourse, of art, of philosophy, arguably remains higher because there's less noise, less distraction, less shallow engagement. The stars become important again. Without light pollution, the night sky is a vast tapestry of stars and planets and cosmic wonder. Every culture develops sophisticated astronomy, not through telescopes and electronic sensors, but through patient observation and mathematical calculation. Navigation by stars remains essential. Religious and philosophical systems are deeply connected to celestial movements. And humanity maintains a relationship with the cosmos that our world has largely lost. We feel small under that infinite darkness, humbled, connected to something larger than ourselves. But there are costs, massive costs. Medical technology that could save millions never develops. Communication that could prevent wars never exists. Entertainment and education that could enrich lives never emerges. The human lifespan remains shorter. Infant mortality stays higher. Preventable suffering continues because the tools to prevent it were never invented. And you have to ask yourself the hardest question. Is this better or worse? Is a world of slower pace, deeper connection, and natural rhythm preferable to our world of constant connectivity, medical miracles, and endless entertainment? Or is that romanticizing hardship, glamorizing limitation? The truth is, both worlds have their beauty and their horror. Our world gave us the power to reshape reality, to conquer disease, to connect across impossible distances. But it also gave us addiction to screens, disconnection from nature, and the constant anxiety of information overload. Their world keeps humanity grounded, connected to natural cycles, living in physical communities with deep local bonds. But it also keeps humanity small, vulnerable, limited by the speed of horses and the reach of daylight. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Progress isn't good or bad. It's a trade-off. Every advancement we make, every technology we develop, we gain something and lose something. We traded darkness for light, but we lost the stars. We traded isolation for connection, but we lost presence. We traded limitation for possibility, but we lost simplicity. The world without electricity isn't paradise or dystopia. It's just different. A valid path humanity could have walked. A reminder that the world we built isn't inevitable. It's a choice, one we continue to make every day. So tonight, when you turn off your lights, sit in the darkness for a moment. Feel what it's like to be without that invisible force flowing through the walls. Listen to the silence without the hum of electronics. Look out at the night sky if you can still see it through the light pollution. And remember, we didn't have to choose this path. We chose it because it gave us power. But power always has a price. And somewhere, in a timeline we never lived, humanity is sitting in the darkness, looking up at stars we can barely see anymore, wondering what it would be like to live in a world of endless light.